So now we have D. And remember I explained before how we have the whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which means that we're using the black notes now to be able to get our notes in the right key. And so, whereas before we did the 1, 3, 5, we do that a little differently. We're still going to be using the thumb and the middle and the pinky, but we're at D. So we're on D, and we're on F sharp, and we're on A. I'm trying to get my fingers out of the way, but I can't. But you can see the pattern. So with this C, we were 1, 3, 5. With D, we're 1, 3, 5. We're on D, we're on F sharp, and we're on A. Now the neat thing is that you hold this pattern and you move your fingers up, you move your hand up to the next note, E, and you move the middle finger over and you move the pinky over. Now you are this is really nice having the lights in there, so it makes it easier to see. So you can see that we did our D chord with that pattern. Phone call. Okay, where was I? So we're doing the D chord. The 1, 3, 5 pattern. And the same thing follows for E. So let's start over. We have our C, we have our D, we have our E, we already did the F, remember it was the 1, 3, 5? We have the G. I'm going to have to move the camera. A, we're holding that same pattern. That's why this is so easy. You've just learned 2 patterns that will allow you to play 6 chords. Can I show that? This way I won't have to move the camera. Let's do the C. We're doing the 1, 3, 5. And then over here we did the D. And can I get the E in over here? No, I cannot get the E in, so let me move the camera. Ooh. So we have D, E, let me get this camera positioned right. C, D, E, second pattern, first pattern F, first pattern G, first pattern A, so those are 6 of the chords, and now the tricky one is the B chord. And it's very awkward. It takes a while to, doesn't take a while to get used to. You just have to play it over and over until your hand is comfortable with it, because it's a little awkward. You get the camera positioned, and that is the B, and then it's the outer black and the inner black. So B is, that's B major. All of these are major. Now, some people like to play it like this. Some people like to play it like this, which I don't, because then your hand's twisted in. Some people feel comfortable playing it that way. On my right hand, I play it this way. On my left hand, I play it this way, because that's the only way I can make my fingers work the right way. So let's go over this really fast. You've just learned a lot. C major. Second pattern, D major. Second pattern, E major. First, I'm all confused. Just forget about the pat. Okay. So let's see what we just learned. We're going to use the 2 patterns, the C, the F, the G. We're going to use the other pattern, using the black keys, the D, E, A, tripod's in the way, makes it difficult, A, and then the F, then the B, which is that weird one, the B and then the 2 black keys up here, So now you know all of your major keys. And it's a little tricky doing it with the left hand compared to the right. It's because if you're right-handed like me, the left hand doesn't really work too much, and it's a little awkward to understand all of this. So it takes a while to figure it all out, but it's the exact same thing. I want to stick with the right hand now so that I can teach you a little bit more. The more you can learn in a short time, the better. Remember I told you about C and C sharp, D and D sharp, no sharps between E and F, no sharps between B and C, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. These are also called flats. It depends which way you're going. If you were going, let's stick with G. If you're going with a G and you go upward because it's higher pitched, it's a G sharp. This could also, to the left, since we're going down, this could be called a G flat. So they have dual names. This is an F, that's an F sharp. That's a G or a G flat. So they have different names. F, F sharp, G, G flat. G, G sharp, A flat. A little bit more theory that's very helpful for you. So why do we need to know that? Because when you have musical notes, you have sharps and flats, except between E and F and B and C. Even though sometimes they can be called sharps and flats. Sometimes. An F could be called, if you're at the F, an E could be called an F flat, but it's normally not done. An F could be called an E sharp, but it's normally not done. So let's get into a little bit more theory here. What do I want to explain next? I want to explain we have the C chord. Now, if you want to make that gloomy, I'm sure you've heard before there are majors and minors. Minor means you are flatting the third. Now, what does that mean? That's really confusing until I explain it, and then it isn't. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A chord is 1, 3, and 5. So we're at the C chord now. If we flat the third, remember I said when you go upward, you sharp it. When you go downward, you flat it. So if this is a C chord, and we flat the third, because this is the third, if we flat it, now instead of a C major, we're at a C minor. See how easy that was? You just learned another chord. So you learned your C majors. Remember I did C major, F major, and G major. Well, all we need to do is flat those, flat the third, and then we get a minor. So let's do that. Here's the C major, and if we flat the third, now we have a C minor. Let's go to the F that we did before. That's an F major. If we flat the third, remember we're going downward. Gloomy, major, exciting and happy. Minor, depressing and sad. And remember we learned the G, how we did the G, we had the major, 1, 3, and 5. Flat the third, now we have a minor. Look at all the notes that you were learning in a short amount of time. This would take you weeks in a beginning music class. They would probably spend a lot of time with the music staff and playing, and you'd have no idea what you're doing. Let's try this again. C, F, G. Let's minor that. We just minored C, F, and G. And it's the exact same idea with these other chords. Remember we had D, how we had that pattern, that second pattern? That's D that we learned. If we flat the third, that's your minor, that's D minor. You just learned another chord. Remember we did E? Flat the third. You just did another chord. F, which we just did. Major, flat the third, F minor, G. G major, flat the third. Okay, the tripod's in the way now. I don't know if I can do this. Same pattern, A major, flat the third. Notice it's kind of that same pattern, the 1, 3, 5. Did you notice that? It only works on these two notes. It works on the A and it works on the E. Which makes life really cool, because if you know this pattern, I'll show you in a minute, you can play a lot of really neat stuff. We still have to do the B. Remember the tricky B? Take this middle finger, flat the third, take it off of the black and move it down. B minor. So what did you just learn? You learned 7 of your major chords, you learned 7 of your minor chords, and it's the exact same idea. So I'm going to stick with, let's stick with the key of C. All of this applies in the other keys, but you just have to start doing your whole halves and figuring out what your patterns are and what the notes are in that key. And I explained how to do that in the beginning with your whole half part.